Hey guys, this is Solution Podfic, and today we're going to be reading A Golden Child Painted Red by Ezra 129799. This is Chapter 4. I said that we'll get the bat in here to threat him, and now you're telling me we can't? What kind of interrogation is this? Hal says, rather angrily, considering he's in the middle of eating a marshmallow. A bad one, clearly, Flash retorts. And it's true. The interrogation is not going well. It's almost as if the Red Hood wants to speak to Batman. Which is insane, because why would anyone want that glare in the face? Jason. Everything had been running smoothly since the family dinner. Everything was going to be fine. Red Hood started expanding. Crime Alley was just the beginning. The rest of Gotham was still a shit show which needed help. He started asking some of his better henchmen to ask around, see if anyone was in need of a job. Gotham is a big city, and he didn't have a big enough following for a 2 or 3 men on each street. He also needed enough men to actually do the crime stuff. If he wanted to replicate what he did with Crime Alley, he would either need to sacrifice the drug trade, which was not going to happen, or increase how many people he had on his payroll. So, some people asked around, and lo and behold, there were now people paid to stand on the streets all night and stop any crime they see. However, some people didn't like his new rule of only kill when you need to out of necessity. But why? It's not like you've ever cared before, says some random nobody who didn't matter because this was his gang. Don't like the rules? Get out. But Jason didn't verbalize any of this because he was a big boy who couldn't rule out of fear. Ruling out of fear is what Batman did. It's inefficient and stupid, but Batman does it anyway. The problem with fear is it's easily overridden by anger, or really any other strong emotion. There's also the people who aren't scared of getting beaten up by a man cosplaying a bat at night. The people who do crime for fun, yeah, they might get a bit scared of the bat, but those who commit crime out of necessity, they won't be. They'll look at their family and realize that the only way food is getting on the table is if they steal money for it. They'll realize that if they commit petty crimes, they will no longer need to choose between heating and food. Fear can be undone through hope, and some people have hope that robbing the corner store will mean that their 5-year-old doesn't have to miss a meal for weeks. But Red Hood, he rules through loyalty, partially through fear, but mostly through loyalty. The only thing his men fear is that if they aren't loyal to the Red Hood, their kids won't get those tutoring sessions. They will no longer have rent half the price of anywhere else. They will no longer respect him. They look at Red Hood and realize that the man before them has helped him more than anyone else in the world could have. His men look at him and realize that the Red Hood didn't give up on them, their future, or their children's future. People don't respect Batman, but they do respect Red Hood. Most people in Gotham also respect Jason Todd. Jason Todd, who, unlike most other philanthropists, actually does a lot of stuff himself. He doesn't just pay people to do it for him and move on. No, Jason Todd works right alongside those he pays, and those who volunteer. If anyone wanted to find Jason Todd, they could find him in a soup kitchen, a homeless shelter, a learning center, a free defense class, the orphanages he set up. But back to the conversation. I care now because we are trying to expand. The bats haven't bothered us yet. We don't want to encourage them to start attacking us. Keep killing to an absolute minimum. Try not to put people in hospitals. Just throw them around a bit and teach them a lesson. Alright, whatever you say, boss. Dick. Dick wanted to do his own little investigation into this Red Hood guy. He doesn't seem all that bad. Sure, he kills people, but only the really bad people, like murderers, rapists, child molesters, people who deal to children, those lot. And Dick can see why. When he started his vigilante career, he was too tempted to kill those guys, the people he didn't think should be alive, but he never actually did it. He has noticed there are less of those crimes going around. People have obviously become more cautious when they noticed that someone was going around killing those guys. He also noticed more men, usually quite large men, the type that could gently nudge you and you fall over, just hovering around. He didn't quite know what they were for, or what they were doing, but he could guess they're one of Red Hood's new safety features as they are popping up near Crime Alley, and it appears that there are a couple on every street. At least, he didn't quite know what they were for until a lady was walking down the street, worried expression illuminated by the streetlights. She wasn't really walking, more like panicked trotting, and it didn't take too long to find out why. A few paces behind was a man, average build, black hoodie, overall a very basic appearance. He remained right behind her until he pushed her into a side street and appeared to be mugging her. Nightwing was about to swoop down and save the day when 2 of those men went to help. The mugger got left in the side street just out of view from the main road, and after what seemed to be a very threatening one-sided conversation. He now understood why there were 3 men. 2 went to help, while 1 stayed there to make sure no crimes got committed. Then, after it was dealt with, one of the men who helped would walk the attacked person home, while the other 2 stayed on guard. Red Hood had efficiently redone the police system. That was quite smart, actually. Jason. He was going to be late. He was running so behind and was desperately trying to not miss the bus he needed to catch. He had agreed to go to Dick's house to watch a movie with him and Tim. Brotherly bonding, he said. But he was going to be late. Despite sprinting to the bus stop, Jason got there 2 minutes after the bus left. The next one was in an hour. Maybe he just missed the movie night. There's no way he could get there in time unless he took a cab. And the risks of him getting stabbed in one of those things was way too high. Of course, there was always the option of Red Hood's bike, but that would connect him to Red Hood. Although, now he thinks about it, he wears a lot of his gear out about as a civilian. He wears the jacket, the steel-toed boots almost every day. How have they not noticed? His family is the world's best detectives, yet they failed to see that Jason just so happened to be wearing half his gear. Surely some of the people who go to the shelters have noticed. He's definitely helped quiet a few of them as Red Hood, and then served the food the next day as Jason Todd, wearing the same getup. He figures that if none of his family have noticed the outfit is almost identical to that of Red Hood's, he might as well take the bike. Will they really be paying that much attention to a bike? Probably not. He decided to take the risk and make it there somewhat on time. He walked to his nearest safe house and went into its garage. He's relieved that he bought quite a few bikes and put one in every other safe house, especially when he finds out this is one of the ones that has a bike. The engine buzzing under him, Jason drives all the way to Bloodhaven. Taking his car would have been a terrible idea. He would have been later if he took his car than if he just walked there. However, his bike weaved through the rush hour traffic, getting him to a rundown apartment block that Dick calls home surprisingly fast. He approaches Dick's apartment, wearing half of Red Hood's gear for a laugh, and hesitantly knocks. The door basically hits Dick in the face by how fast he opened it towards himself. "You came. I was starting to think you wouldn't," he said. "Of course I came. There was just a lot of traffic, and I set off a bit late. One of those stupid meetings ran over." Dick's apartment was shabby at best. At worst, it was a stereotypical, "I'm a man who's just moved out of a dorm and decided not to get any furniture apartment." There was one couch, a beanbag next to it, and the TV was on what looked like an old aquarium stand. All of that was in the middle of the living room/dining room. The kitchen was even worse. There was one frying pan, one pot, 2 sets of cutlery. Apart from spoons, there were hundreds of spoons. There was also 1 plate and about 70 bowls. And when Jason did a bit of a snoop, the only food Dick really had was cereal. How was this man still alive? He sat on the beanbag because both of the seats on the couch were taken. Apparently, Tim chose what they were watching, which made quite a bit of sense as a James Bond movie played in the background. Tim eventually fell asleep, and Jason reckoned he might as well too. If you think he wants to drive through Bloodhaven at night, you would be incredibly incorrect. Alright guys, and that is the end of Chapter 4 of A Golden Child Painted Red by Ezra 129799. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next chapter.